Hi, my name is Sridhar Rangayan. I'm the Festival Director of KASHISH Mumbai International Queer Film Festival, which is having its 12th edition right now. And we're in the second week of the festival, which is the acceptance week. So we're going to be seeing a lot of LGBTQ films, and you must have already seen in the first week. And the second week, of course, is also screening a lot of LGBTQ films. And today we are in conversation with two brilliant filmmakers and the protagonist of the film Out Loud. So we have LINDSEY DEATON, who is a protagonist of the film Out Loud, and GAIL WILLUMSEN, the director of the film, and JILL SHINEFIELD, who is the producer of the film Out Loud. So thank you for joining with us today. Really appreciate getting up so early in the morning out there in US and Mexico, and thank you for joining it. And to represent the film Tracing Utopia, we have CATARINA de SOUSA, who is joining from Lisbon, and Nick TYSON, who is joining from New York. So thank you for joining in at various time zones. And I'm in India, of course, and it's 8:30 in the evening today here. So basically Out Loud traces the journey of the first ever transgender choir in Los Angeles. So Gail, how did you come across this particular beautiful experience of capturing the transgender choir? What made you do that?
Well, this isn't as magical as one could hope for an origin story, but I read about it in a local newspaper. I read that the chorus was starting up and seeking singers, putting out an open call. And I thought, what an absolutely wonderful, wonderful project. Clearly, this has never been done before. It ought to be documented. It's a piece of history, clearly. And Jill and I were between projects and thought, we would love to get involved in this and commit this to film and get it out there, part of the historical record of the LGBTQ community.
But did you get permission very easily, or was it a task to convince LINDSEY that you are the right people? Because I know that I read somewhere that there are more people who are also interested in filming the same project, So was it tough to get LINDSEY to kind of say, okay, you are the people who are going to be filming us?
Well, I can only say that we put ourselves out there, but Lindsay would have to address, how she felt about two cisgender women showing up and saying, "Hi, we'd like to film you."
Jill, you want to say something?
Yeah. So, Sridhar, you're absolutely right. We were approached by many different, production companies about filming the chorus. And we were really particular about who we wanted to bear witness to our experience. And that's truly what Gail and Jill did for us, is they bore witness. And they didn't come in with a preconceived notion of what trans people are like and what trans people sound like when they are singing. They were really open to the experiences that we were about, to have with one another, which were always new, and they still are. Let's not forget where we are in time. We're still at the beginning of this gender revolution.
So thank you for sharing that. Gail, I read that you made a full disclosure in the director's statement that you do not belong to the LGBTQ community, you are an ally, So, but what made you particularly pick up this topic? Have you made LGBTQ films before, or this was the first ever film focused on LGBTQ topic for you?
I had not made an LGBTQ film before, but my background is in documentary filmmaking. So I've filmed people all over the world doing all kinds of things, and I'm always drawn, Jill and I are drawn and have founded our little production company on finding, that which is the most extraordinary in the human experience, achievement and people who are trying to make the world a better place. And so it just made sense, given the heightened awareness of transgender issues was growing at the time we started making this film. We were certainly aware of it. I live in a very queer neighborhood in West Hollywood, and most of my friends and family are, connected to the community or identify as part of that community. So it just all came together with our interests and what we just sensed that this was going to be something extraordinary to witness.
And Jill, you also doubled up as a sound recordist, and Gail doubled up as a camera person. So how was it? Like, I mean, do you always do this way? I mean, you basically shoot and record your own films, or this is a special thing, you just did it for this film?
This was a special thing we did for this film. I mean, for our past projects, we would hire camera and sound teams, but we do have our own equipment, and we've used it for very short projects. Like we had done a project for a nonprofit on that works with homeless people in Los Angeles. So we'd help them with a promo. And so we had the equipment, we had the camera and sound equipment, very stripped down basic equipment. But we thought with the story, we realized we would be kind of hanging out with the chorus for a long period of time. And we were in the rehearsal room every week for about 6 months. And it was not a large space. And there were maybe 20, 24 singers. So it kind of made sense. And there were mirrors on one side of the wall.
And mirrors, I was going to say, mirrors everywhere.
Yeah, mirrors everywhere. It became clear from the minute we visited the chorus the first time we saw them sing and rehearse, we would have to just do this ourselves. And, we definitely improved. Our technical skills improved as we went along. But yeah, we had we even had a little GoPro camera that we would use on occasion. And we did bring on a couple of people who helped us out and volunteered for the big concerts and the performances, larger performances where we needed more cameras.
All right, so I'm going to come back to all three of you again with more questions, but let me go to Nick TYSON and CATARINA de Souza. Basically, like, you people worked on this project as part of a collaborative project. You're from Portugal, and Nick is from New York. How did this collaboration happen, and where did it take place?
Well, we started the project as part of the Union Docs Collaborative Studio. It's Union Docs is a documentary arts center based in Brooklyn, and they have a year-long artist residency program where they bring together about 12 different filmmakers and artists to collaborate and to really look at the art of collaboration in documentary filmmaking. And so Katarina and I were sort of fast friends in the program, and we knew we wanted to co-direct something together. So the theme, every year there's a theme for the program, and so the theme for our year was adolescence. So we sort of entered into the year knowing we wanted to make a film with a group of teens, and that we wanted to do something together. Kat, do you want to fill in from there?
Yeah, and then we started our research, and we discovered this amazing queer youth center in Queens, Generation Q. And Julia and Lindsay, the instructors, were so available and open to our project. And with us, we discovered this amazing group, and we started to film on shooting physically on like mid-February, and then beginning of March, the COVID started, and we realized that this youth center, queer youth center, continue their meetings online. So we decided with them to join in Discord and in Zoom meetings. And so we started to meet them online every week since like March to July. No, July, August. Yeah, it was like almost 6 months. And then we realized that they play every day the Minecraft. So we understood that it was an interesting tool to work with them, their visions of the future and utopian. And yeah, it was like a new world for us. Nick played as Avatar, and I was like just training out to film in a video game, and it was like a very beautiful process.
Yeah, I mean, your film is like totally out of the world kind of experience. Like, it's very different than a typical documentary kind of thing. So it kind of, and also, like, let me ask you, if the COVID had not happened, would your film look very different than what it is finally?
It would have looked very different. We started with wanting to do something that was more, our original inspiration was do something more in line of like the ethnofictions of Jean Rouch, and sort of experiment with them in real space and explore what queer safe spaces look to them and how they could reimagine the spaces of their day-to-day lives with all together, and how we could sort of reenact new scenarios and explore that way. And so when everything went into lockdown, we were a little lost, and then we found this pathway into the digital realm that led us into a whole new way of making the film, and a whole new film really than what we had envisioned originally.
Have any of you worked with children before? I mean, working with children is complicated, and working with queer children are more complicated, if I may say so. So how did you find this whole energy to work with young children? You know?
I hadn't worked with teens before, but I have a large cohort of nieces and nephews who are younger than that. So I'm used to sort of maybe the more erratic energy side of things, and the sort of imaginative explorations together as well in terms of that.
And also the language is so different. I mean, you almost belong to the same generation, but I would say for me, when I watch the film, the language that teens use is so different from any other language I know. Even verbal language, I'm talking about, not visual language, of course. Katarina, you're saying something, sorry.
No, I was just saying that for us, it was a very, very big help having Lindsay and Julia, the instructor, with us, because they help us to, because it was difficult to get the group together every week, because of course, teens have a lot of, even in confined context, they always have many activities.
Yeah, you see in the film, Asher tuned in a lot from physical therapy. He was always calling in from physical therapy. So we just like sort of worked it into the film. He was doing like pull down bars and things. And so we just had to sort of roll with the punches in a way wherever everybody was, you know, just get everybody together.
And Rafael was our translator, in the sense of, because for me as editor, and I'm Portuguese, native Portuguese speaker, so it was always Nick, Rafael, Lindsay, Julia helping to understand the language, as you say. So it was a challenge in that way, yeah. So the intergenerational relation in this process.
Wow, this is amazing. So let me get to Lindsay now. Like, I mean, jumping generations right now, from a queer teen to a queer elderly, middle-aged person, not elderly. So Lindsay, what made you basically start this? Okay, so what made you start this particular chorus? I mean, like, you've been a performer. I mean, you've been a singer. You've been a performer. What gave you this motivation to start this particular chorus, you know, group?
Oh, okay, just a couple of things. So I am 65 years old.
Oh my God, you don't look that at all, totally.
I qualify. Oh, you can't backtrack now, Sridhar. I'm just fooling with you. So there was not a queer or a trans chorus in Los Angeles. Actually, there was not one in the United States back in 2015. There had been a group about 20 years ago or 15 years ago in Oakland, California, of African-American trans folks that had a spiritual, a gospel group. And then there was a small group in Boston, Massachusetts, called the Butterfly Music Trans Chorus. And the road was littered with groups that would start up and then die off, much like what Nick and KATARINA are experiencing with young people, you know, just the fluidity of who would come into spaces and how you would center spaces. I had a youth chorus, a queer youth chorus in Ohio. And I had a chance meeting with the artistic director of the Gay Men's Chorus in Los Angeles in Cleveland, Ohio in 2014. And we started talking. And in February of 2015, we talked very seriously about what it would take to start a trans chorus in Los Angeles. There had been a television show called Glee that was very popular. It centered around a group of high school singers and kids that were in music theater. And there was definitely a queer presence in that television show. And one of their episodes focused on one of their characters, Coach B, who transitioned as a trans masculine person. And the show ended with a chorus, if you will, of 200 plus trans people singing. Well, they were lip syncing, you know, they did not sound like that. And so that sparked the conversation. We had an open call in October of that year. And that's when Gail and Jill found the chorus. And the initial performance was for the International Transgender Day of Remembrance, which is every year on November the 20th. It's a day that we memorialize and remember the trans people, mostly trans women of color who have been murdered. And, you know, the country that is experiencing the most violence right now also speaks Portuguese. It's Brazil, that we know of. And we're not talking about a few people here. We're talking hundreds of people are murdered every year. And so the experience of gathering, of being in community, ritualistically singing, you know, together to remember these people was very, very powerful. And it continues to be the glue that holds that community together every year. I wish we could gather for happy experiences, and this is going to be one of them, Sridhar. And so thank you for giving us the opportunity to celebrate happiness and joy and love.
So when you set up the group per se, like, I mean, you basically also invited people to participate, but there are a lot of people who are non-trained singers, you know. For you, it was a task to get them to perform to the level at which you like to be them to perform. So how is that experience, you know, training youngsters, also people who may not be really singers, you know?
Well, so it was an unauditioned chorus. We had no idea who was going to walk into the space, nor what they would sound like. And it was a challenge. And the chorus the next year changed into an auditioned chorus. And they continued to that, you know, that way today. But yeah, it was quite an experience finding, you know, for trans people, there's a lot of dysphoria in terms of how my voice betrays me. When you hear my voice, if I turn off my video, you are hearing a voice that might not be matched by the picture that you just saw, right? And so to a great extent, voices can create danger for transgender people, both directions, all right? Especially when you find yourself in public spaces, right? And so just the courage that it takes for a trans person to open their mouth, much less to sing, and then discover where does that voice lie within this body of mine. And, you know, for me, if I could snap my fingers and wiggle my nose and be a soprano, I would. But the fact of the matter is, this is my voice, and this is how Lindsey sounds. And so my role as an artistic director was to fiercely empower all of these wonderful choristers to love their voices, however they manifested themselves. And then for Jill and Gail to so wonderfully capture that experience.
So Jill, coming to you, basically, like, I mean, you just not only focus on the performances and the auditions and the rehearsals and the final performance, but you also went behind to speak to the people, brought out the personal stories. How challenging was it for you to delve deeper into some of these people's personal lives, you know?
There were, at the time when we started filming, there were maybe 20, 24 singers, and we invited the whole chorus, everybody, to be filmed outside of the chorus. And many people didn't want to be filmed, so that was fine. You know, we obviously were going to film with people who want to be filmed. And so we kind of worked with each person to figure out, you know, could we film them at home or outside of home? What were their hobbies? What were things maybe where they worked? Were they doing an activity or something where we could film them? So we worked with each singer individually, and we did all those portraits after the concert, after all the many months of rehearsals. So I think people felt more comfortable around us. And, you know, we tended to, you know, I think pretty much every person that we filmed outside the course, some snippet or portion of that is in the film. Some people are, there's more backstory and there were more things we filmed with them than others. But, you know, those were filmed over many months, actually. It took, you know, it was a few days here, a few days there. The one singer, Rex, who had the surgery, they actually, we had to film them during the rehearsal process. And that was one story where we started early, earlier than all the others. But, you know, that's kind of how that worked.
One thing was the geographical challenge. You know, these choristers, while we have the name Los Angeles in the title, lived everywhere, you know, from Bakersfield, California to Lancaster, you know, out in the high desert down to San Clemente, you know, in Orange County. I mean, folks would drive hours every Sunday to gather. So at times, Jill and Gail found themselves driving like to Hemet, California. Yeah.
Right. Thank you for pointing that. Gail, I mean, if you want to point out one of the stories which you found really very like touched your heart a lot. I mean, of course, all the stories are very heartwarming, but like any particular moment where you felt, oh, this is something I didn't know, or this is a person whom I met who I feel very close to, you know?
Wow, that's a tough question because everyone's story is so moving. But I think one of the choristers named Maggie, who was formerly the heavy metal singer, we filmed her getting her wig done for the upcoming concert, and here she is, you know, in her 40s. She's bald. She's just come out. She's married. Her wife is there. The interchange, this delicate interchange between her and her wife, where she explains that she hopes her wife falls in love with her all over again as a woman. And you can see the doubt in her wife's eyes, but it's all about love. It's all about love. They did not stay together, but they still are close and they still love each other. And that just, her story just to me is about so much resilience. And it's not in the film, but Maggie had a very, very difficult childhood, was not well parented, you know, just went through hell her whole life. And look at her now. She's just blossomed as a human being. And I think the thing about the portraits that got me is that every one of these individuals is not defined by their transness. That's part of who they are. It doesn't define them. They're all, you know, just wonderful individuals. They're all a kaleidoscope of human traits. And it was just it was such a privilege to have people open up to us and share that with us.
Thank you for sharing that. That's really special for sure. I'll come back to you with more questions, but over to Nick and Katarina. So basically, I just love this whole idea that the queer children think of a utopia where there's no discrimination at all. Is that possible? What do you think, Nick? You know, you think it's achievable in any way, you know?
It gave me a lot of hope for the future, talking with the teens about what they want from the future and what they envision for the world. And I really just I believe in the children. I believe in the teens. So it gave me a lot of hope that yeah.
And you've done another film, and you also done a short film earlier with young people, which is also I believe like I read about it like per se.
I personally hadn't made another short film with youth directly. I'd worked with a community garden at one point, making a short film with them, and that did have some youth in it, but focus was really the organizers there. Katarina, I don't know if you had made a short film.
No, me neither. As director, it was the first time, and it was like a very beautiful experience because of all that intergenerational relation with them. and it was amazing how they are so conscious and so progressive and so politicized. Like,
Yeah.
for me was like very, very, very hope. They give us a lot of hope in the future and the next generations. So it's a very positive experience.
And in fact, like when we screen the films at Kashish, we have a program where we take it to colleges and schools, where we show LGBTQ films to colleges and schools. And we realized that in the schools, we did a couple of school screenings, and the youngsters understand it so beautifully without any prejudice. They do not have any labels or boxes or tags or anything. They're just so accepting and welcoming of diversity. That's a beautiful, and I just hope the world becomes a better place because of these young children when they grow up. I'm sure it'll be. Where is your film shown, Nick and Katarina? Where is your film shown till now? What has been the journey of the film?
We started at Rotterdam. Oh, go ahead, Kat.
No, sorry. It was the premiere. The international premiere was Rotterdam, and then the film went to BFI Flair in London, and then went to Brazil. And for me it was very, very amazing. Because I lived in São Paulo for 9 years, and as Lindsay was saying, Brazil really, really needs to have a call up for action, because it's totally, with Bolsonaro, is very, very difficult, the queer life of trans people and LGBT community there right now. Then we went to Germany, to Oberhausen. Yeah. Then it will go to Moscow, and it will come to Lisbon. It will be our Indie Lisboa. It will be the first time physically happening, the screening. No, Nick is coming, so we will. Because all these screenings festivals were online because of pandemic times.
So where's the physical screening happening?
In Lisbon. It's going to be our first physical screening in August.
And we're hoping to watch with the teens in New York, but we don't know yet where. Yeah,
we were hoping to have an in-person festival in New York because we want them all to be able to, walk the red carpet, everything.
I know.
And so we've been holding out. We did do we did a little celebration all together online after the film was done with union docs, and we've been, inviting them along to share view films at the various festivals we've been at. But it'll be really nice to sort of share the festival experience with them, because I think it's all been a little abstract. The film being, they're projected all over the world, So.
And what has been the reaction of the audiences? I mean, any particular feedback which you have received from the audiences?
It's been a little tough just because it's been online. I mean, I think we've been able to connect with a lot of great other filmmakers like Gail and Jill via these types of Zoom Q&As, but we haven't really seen an audience yet because we've all been online. So.
Yeah, so at our festival, you're going to be having basically a text chat box within the platform, so people can share their comments there, and we usually collate all the comments of each film and send it to the filmmaker after the festival. So you're going to receive that, at least a feedback, of what the audience has felt, etc. Gail and Jill, so what has been the journey of your film? Where has it traveled till now? What has been the reactions?
Well, we finished the film just before the pandemic hit. We literally mixed, it was heartbreaking. It was in February. We had our world premiere at the Translations Transgender Film Festival in Seattle. And that was last May, that was May 2019. So we started our festival run last year, and we've been in pretty much, we were in Outfest last August. We've also been in some documentary festivals. So it's been a variety of festivals, all online. I think there was one festival in Canada, the Rainbow Visions Festival in Calgary. They had a one screening in person, but we couldn't go. Gail and I couldn't go to that. The film continues to be in festivals. We're thrilled to be in your festival. This is a big, for Southeast Asia, this is it for us. So this is exciting. And we're still waiting to hear back from some. It's clear many people, it's all online. So we're kind of waiting. There was a festival, I think it was in Pennsylvania. They scrambled at the last minute for an in-person. And it was the Southside Film Festival, and it just didn't give Gail, we didn't have enough time to get there, but everything's been online. So we're hoping to have some in-person screenings later in the year somewhere. We don't know where, and we're looking for a distributor. We don't have a distributor yet, so.
Okay. Gail, what has been the reaction of the people, whatever you've been getting online feedback, or people reaching out on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram to you?
Well, I'm happy to say it's kind of been a love fest, because people fall in love with the choristers. They fall in love with Lindsay. So,
yeah, I know.
that's what, that's why we made the film. And hopefully some of those folks are folks who haven't had a lot of contact with, the trans community. Maybe this opened some eyes, opened some hearts. But yeah, the reactions we've had have been very positive. Again, it's not because of the filmmaking, it's because the folks in the film are so wonderful that people just fall in love, and they want to, they want to know where they can see the chorus, and they want to know, where are they performing. And so, that's been very, very gratifying.
I would love to do something in Mumbai. Yeah. So Sridhar, I'd love to, gather a group and do something in Mumbai. I've been listening to Nick and KATARINA talk about young queer people, and young queer people in India suffer horribly, and at the hands of their parents, most of all. And one of the things that I've been to India. So I spent 5 weeks going all over the country back in 2018. And I spent time with Prince Manvendra and His Excellency Duke DeAndre up in Rajpitla. And he's the openly out gay prince in India. And, for young people, the street becomes their life. And so the folks that really need to witness these movies are their parents. And so, I'd love for their parents to see Nick and KATARINA's film. It's important that they understand the language that their children are speaking and what's in their hearts. And any way that we could help that, I am all about.
Yeah, so Kashish is collaborating with this wonderful the first ever PFLAG group in India called Sweekar, the Rainbow Parents. Sweekar, the Rainbow Parents is already have around 170 parents for part of that group, and they're really from all over India, and some parents from US and New Zealand and places like that, all Indian parents, and they're primarily mothers. More mothers have joined the group than their fathers, unfortunately. Fathers are more difficult to come by, but I think there are around 10 or 15 fathers, but more mothers who are part of the group. And we are collaborating with them. They spread the message, and basically, so they're going to be watching the films for sure, at least these 120 people. So we just are hoping that, I totally agree that, we are now Section 377, the colonial law is out of the way in India, but the social acceptance is yet to come by, and the parents become the first stakeholders in the kids' journey to forward. So definitely, I agree with you, Lindsay, that we need to be encouraging more and more parents to watch these films so that they are more sensitized and they can carry the message ahead. Thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. And I wish that all of you could come to Mumbai. And we usually screen the festival at this Art Deco theater, which is 1,200 seats. It's an old Art Deco theater, and we fill it up. So imagine your film being played to people, 1,200 people watching it. But hopefully next year, another film. Hopefully we'll bring you all together. I hope the pandemic ends for all of us. But thank you for joining this conversation. If you have any questions for Gail, Jill, Lindsay, Nick, or Katarina, please put it in the comment box below, and I'll make sure they see this particular comments and reply to you. And there's still one more week of Kashish still pending. So if you have not bought your ticket, please go to mumbaiquiffers.com and buy your third weekend pass and continue to watch amazing LGBTQ films and interact. And I would say, let's hope for a day when there's no inequality at all, the way in Tracing Utopia, the young queers talk about equality for everybody, and I hope we see that day very soon. Thank you for joining in, totally.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It was a pleasure
you.
meeting all of
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a
Thanks.
very, very big pleasure.